Yo, it's Trivelli. I'm back, and after 2 weeks of the college football season, we have seen some crazy upsets like Clemson and Ohio State being dropped out of the top 5, and this has definitely opened up the door for group of 5 teams like UCF, who I believe is going to be a Cinderella this year, and they could possibly make the playoff, and I'll tell you how in this video. So if you can, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get this channel out to as many people as possible, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter so you get my daily notifications for when I'm dropping videos, which is Monday through Friday, because I'm never slacking. Now, let's jump into the action.
I'm living life like this. Maybe give a little glimpse, maybe give a little glimpse.
So let's take a deep dive here at how UCF can technically make the college football playoff this year. Is it expansion? No. Right now, ESPN honestly gives UCF a small chance of making it, like really small, like 0.01% small, but I was looking at the top 10 this year, and there was a lot of changes that usually you don't see. Yes, Alabama's number 1 still, and yes, Georgia is there, Oklahoma's still there, and the occasional Oregon run is here again. But look, if you look at the schedules of the top 10 teams, you can clearly see that there could be some movements in these rankings by college football time. So go ahead and do that on your own right now, but I mean, I'll break it down later in this video anyway. So first things first, we need to look at the strength of the schedule of UCF for this season and see how it compares to the other top 10 or top 25 teams after week 2. They come in 95th, which is not good to bolster their case at all. But to their benefit, teams like Auburn are ranked dead last, Coastal Carolina is 123rd, Cincinnati's 121, and even Ole Miss and Florida come in at 93 and 94, which is just above UCF. But their remaining strength of schedule is 79, which is what really matters because a lot of these top 10 teams are playing cupcakes and performing well. You have to wait until they get into their conference play to see if they're really up for the challenge. Teams like Oregon, Cincinnati, Clemson, Oklahoma are all in the mid-60s and 70s as far as the remaining strength of schedule. So to say UCF doesn't have a chance is actually wrong based on this method. A team like Oklahoma, whose hardest game is arguably Iowa State at home, is way easier than Cincinnati on the road, which is UCF's toughest game, especially because Cincinnati plays Temple the week before, which is a tune-up. One can argue in 2 weeks when all these fraudulent Big 12 teams beat each other up, there will only be 1 or 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12, and Oklahoma won't really be tested again until Iowa State. So we don't know what's going to happen until that game. If you take a look at UCF's schedule, you'll be surprised at some of the hidden gems here that's going to be difficult, and that might be able to bolster their schedule down the road. UCF has to go on the road to Louisville this week, and I believe that's a solid win for UCF that puts them in the top 25, no doubt about it. They're the number 1 team that's out right now, and they can get ready for conference play. At Navy is an easy win. They will be number 24-ish at this point when they have to take on Eastern Carolina at home. I think this is a win. They will be 22-23 at this point, and then the pivotal matchup versus Cincinnati on the road. By this point, Cincinnati will have a major test on the road themselves versus Notre Dame before UCF. If they win this, not only will it propel them to a top 5 spot in the rankings, but it will knock off Notre Dame out of real contention. So it's a double plus for UCF. You're getting rid of a team, and then you're playing a team a week after that gives you a shot to possibly knock them out if you can pull off the upset on the road versus Cincinnati. It's a big if, but if they do, they'll easily jump from number 22 to what? The top 10, maybe top 12, right? I mean, Oregon just beat Ohio State on the road, and that's obviously miles ahead of beating Cincinnati on the road, but they got to number 4. And I'm not saying they will get to number 4, but I'm saying they should at least get to number 10 or 12 because this is a massive top 5 win. If other teams in the top 25 are dropping games like flies and UCF is undefeated with solid wins like Boise State, Cincinnati on the road, Louisville on the road, you got to think all the scenarios I presented gives them a solid chance to be a top 10 team by October 16th, which is like midway through the season. A home game versus Memphis is a solid win on the schedule. Then Cupcake, Temple, and Tulane at home, who looks solid versus Oklahoma, I'm not going to lie, before going on the road to most likely undefeated and ranked SMU. Before this game, I expect UCF to be around number 8 after being 9-0 on the season. SMU does not have to play Cincinnati until after UCF. And if you understand what I'm saying here, that's going to help them stay ranked and relevant, therefore giving UCF another big win on the road versus a ranked opponent. 2 cupcake wins in UConn and USF will round out the schedule before the AAC championship. If they run through everyone and are 13-0, they should at least be considered only if these following scenarios play out. Alabama goes undefeated, stays number 1. Georgia loses at Auburn but beats Florida, who will then be 2 losses from their matchup this week with Bama, and therefore out the picture. Georgia losing to Auburn and then Alabama again will make them a 2-loss team. Oklahoma will most likely be a lock with their cupcake schedule to give them the number 2 spot. I'm okay with that. Oregon has to go on the road to UCLA, and if they lose that, they should be out of the top 5. Iowa has Penn State and Wisconsin. Could be some turmoil there. Penn State has Michigan and Ohio State, so they could have some trouble there. The point is that all of these top 5, top 10 teams, they could all have major issues down the road in their schedule if they lose 1 or 2 of these games. Clemson has a cupcake schedule but lost their only true test of the season, so if they meet a good Virginia Tech or Virginia or Pitt team in the AAC championship and they lose that, they're going to be done. But at the same token, even if they make it, that would still leave 1 spot. It could come down to a couple 1-loss teams in the Big Ten, SEC, and ACC, like Texas A&M and Ohio State or Michigan if it's their year. Who would your pick be to make the playoff if UCF is undefeated at 13-0? Should they be given a shot at the number 4 spot over a 1-loss Big Ten team or 1-loss SEC team like Texas A&M, who will most likely lose to Bama and then they won't be the champion of their conference? I mean, I think this is just something to think about when you're breaking down this season. Losses to Clemson and Ohio State early kind of made this interesting. Also, Cincinnati has a great chance of beating Notre Dame on the road, and if they do that, this is just such a major chance for UCF to get a top 5 win on their resume, shut up the CFP gods, and at that point, a 13-0 schedule with multiple ranked wins is something to at least consider if you're the committee. Will they get in? No, they have a 0.01% shot, so if you got to this point in the video, you're probably like exhaling like, oh, all right, good. But seriously, you see how they might have a chance?
I'm living life like this. Maybe give a little glimpse, maybe give a little glimpse.